Um, Hello, everyone. I'm Christoph, co-founder and co-CEO at Retorio. Welcome to our webinar, Embracing AI in HR, Mastering the EU's AI Act for Ethical Talent Management and Lifelong Learning. This is the second episode in our free webinar series, where we discuss thought leadership, share inspirational stories, and best practice for the future of L&D. Today's webinar is made for HR and L&D leaders who are at the forefront of integrating AI into their organizations to be leading the future of work. And today, I'm joined by Dr. Inka Knappertbusch, certified lawyer for labor and employment law at the law firm CMS, who is a subject matter expert on the topic AI in HR. And yeah, I would like to hand over to Inka to give her introduction about herself.
Thank you very much, Christoph. So my name is Inka. I'm, as Christoph has said, a certified labor and employment specialist working for CMS Germany. I'm based in Cologne currently, and I have been advising companies how to successfully implement AI systems in HR since 2021. And my main focus is supporting companies in negotiations with works councils.
Thanks for the introduction, Inka. That sounds very, very profound. And yeah, today is about, as already said, about the EU AI Act. And this year, on the 13th of March, in Europe, there has been the introduction of the first legal framework with regard to the use of AI systems. And I would, directly dive into this topic and ask you about, what is it that employers should know about it, and what's going to happen for them in the future with regard to that AI Act.
Yeah, so maybe it helps to first have an overview about where companies usually already use AI in HR, and then see how this will change in the future, and then bring also in the legal background. So when we are looking at current trends, I see a lot of automation of routine tasks. So for example, AI is automating repetitive tasks such as resume screening, interview scheduling, and onboarding processes. And this allows HR professionals to focus on more strategic activities. And then we also see an increasing use of enhancing recruitment, where AI-driven applicant tracking systems and predictive analytics help identify top candidates faster by analyzing large volumes of data to match candidates with job descriptions. And another area which is also becoming increasingly important, and you know about it, is learning and development, where AI can create personalized training programs by analyzing employee skills and career aspirations, recommending courses and development paths that align with both individual and also organizational goals. So this is what I would say the status quo. And then in the future, I think we will see an increased personalization. So AI will offer more personalized experiences for employees, from tailored career development plans to customized learning opportunities. We will also see enhanced decision-making. So AI will be able to provide deeper insights into employee performance and potential, aiding in more informed decision-making around promotions, compensation, and development needs. And something else which you need to consider is predictive workforce analytics, because advanced analytics will predict workforce trends such as employee turnover, enabling proactive management and planning. And now let's talk a little bit about the legal perspective. As you've already mentioned, the UI AI Act is now in place, and there are a lot of regulations relevant for HR, in particular the category of high-risk systems. The EU AI Act categorizes AI systems based on the risk levels, and high-risk AI systems in HR are those that significantly affect people's lives and rights. And here we can think about typical examples such as recruitment algorithms, because these systems assess candidates for hiring decisions, and if they are biased, can lead to unfair employment practices. Or another example for a high-risk AI system are performance evaluation tools. These are AI systems used to evaluate employee performance because they can impact promotions, compensation, and career progression. And lastly, which is also used in HR and falls under the high risk category, is employee monitoring systems. These are tools that track employee behavior and productivity, and those can raise privacy concerns and affect trust within the workplace. And what is relevant is not what the AI system can do technically, but how it is actually used.
Okay, that sounds interesting. And before we go more in depth in that topic, because it's very, very interesting, I would say in general, if you step one step back, how would you say is also AI in HR generally treated in this framework? What is your perspective here on that?
Yeah, so as I said, there are some AI systems that will fall under the high risk category, but on the other hand, there are also a lot of HR systems that can be used in HR which don't fall into this category, which means there are only limited risk for the employees and therefore also only limited duties for the employers using them. So it's mostly information rights, transparency, and also educating the employees on the risks.
Okay, and do you have, as you said, do you have examples for use cases that would not fall or would? I mean, you already said about which would fall into these categories, but what are examples? Or do you have examples that come to your mind that would not fall into those categories?
So AI systems that don't fall into the high risk category are those that typically only support but do not directly influence critical HR decisions. For example, administrative automation tools, so systems that can automate payroll processing, leave management, and benefits administration. But also think about employee wellness platforms, so AI-driven tools that monitor employee health and wellness metrics, offering recommendations how to improve work-life balance. Or even internal communication tools, so AI-powered chatbots that assist with answering employee queries and providing information about company policies. And those are not in the high risk category because they mostly support and prepare decisions in HR and therefore are not critical to the employees' rights.
Okay, so it's interesting, as you said, there's like those different prerequisites which is preparing, and this is something you said. So preparing, if you would say the like some listener who is not from a legal background, could you go and explain that a little bit more in depth? What is meant by preparing?
Yeah, so the preparing means that the AI systems are used to support the human decision that follows the AI's output, but the AI systems don't make the decisions themselves. And this is why the EU thinks those systems are not as critical as those who which actually make the decisions. So for example, in the hiring process, if we have an AI system that assesses the candidate's profiles and then makes a suggestion, that would be not a high-risk system because it only prepares the final decision. But if the AI system selects the right candidates as a final decision, basically, then we are definitely in the high-risk category.
And what would you say are, for example, also chances now that come with this AI Act for companies? So what are the positive things that, from your perspective, would arise for employers, for example?
I think that AI in HR can be used to enhance talent acquisition, for example. So AI streamlines the recruitment process by automating initial screenings and identifying top candidates based on predefined criteria. So this increases efficiency, but also it can support diversity and inclusion in this context. Because by removing human bias in resume screening, AI can help create a more diverse and also inclusive workforce. But also with regard to improving employee engagement, here we see personalized career development, where AI-driven plans analyze individual strengths and career goals and offering tailored development plans and learning opportunities. And another benefit is the real-time feedback, because analysis tools provide immediate insights into employee morale, allowing organizations to address issues promptly. And something which I've already mentioned is optimizing workforce management, because by using predictive analytics, AI forecasts workforce trends, such as potential turnover and skill gaps, and therefore enabling proactive talent management strategies. And also by doing this, AI helps in optimizing resource allocation by predicting project outcomes and workforce requirements.
Very good insight. So that is also giving, on the one side, also from a practical point of view, right? To say, okay, there are real problems that companies have, and those technologies could help to solve those problems on a practical way. Because yeah, as an organization, you have challenges that you need to master and prepare, and the better it's being prepared, that would also mean as a consequence that this could help those companies to operate better. And of course, for people also to give them more flexibility, because the company knows what the consequences would be. If you say you know want to change maybe your job role from A to B, they would immediately know, okay, what would be the consequences for my organization if I would do this? Because I could see, for example, if then there are skills missing within a role, but also probably across roles. And now, if you look at the AI Act itself, it has been released. It has been now, or is being put into practice. There are different, as I remember, there are different time frames for organizations to cope with those regulations. Is there something that they could already do in order to prepare until it really comes into if or would affect them?
Yeah, indeed, there are 3 different timelines basically, and the longest one is up to 3 years that companies have time to complete the task or fulfill the requirements. But since there's so much administrative work coming to the companies, and they need to do so much research on the AI system they have currently in use or the ones they would like to use, and really in particular with regard to AI systems in HR that are in the high risk category, there's a lot to do, a lot of requirements to fulfill, and this is why I think companies should now already start preparing for this, because otherwise it could not be enough time in the end.
Is there something that you also for maybe your clients, or if you're out in the field, that you already advising companies to do, or that they ask you to say what should I do now? And that's something you could share with the audience?
Yeah, definitely. So we always advise to come up with an actual plan, because first thing companies should know is having an overview about the AI systems and in which category they fall. And then obviously also understand the duties or obligations that come with the different risk categories. And something which will be very difficult to fulfill is the requirement of human oversight with regard to high risk systems, because it cannot just be anyone, but it needs to be a qualified person that has also been properly trained. And I think most companies will struggle with that, because as of now, who can say he or she is qualified and also properly trained? So this is going to be very difficult, I think, in particular with smaller companies which maybe lack resources or staff to do this.
Is there also a legal requirement on who could be eligible to observe those systems, or is this something that the companies could decide themselves?
So the legal requirement is pretty precise. As I said, it must be a qualified person who is also trained. But in the end, it's up to the companies to decide who is going to fulfill this role. Also, I think it can be difficult to find something who is volunteering for it, because it's a very responsible position, and which also imposes some compliance risks. So yeah, I think training employees, not only for this position, but in general for the responsible use of AI and understanding the requirements of the EU AI Act, is definitely something all companies should work on.
So thanks for clarifying what has been or what needs to be done from a legal perspective. from a non-legal perspective, because those, as you said, technologies might be already in place or they will be introduced to solve problems for the future. Of course, as an organization as a whole, it would affect a lot of people there. Do you have any advice on how to introduce those systems, because they might be seen as critical, or everyone has a different picture of their head about what is AI, so there's no coherent picture about it. Is there anything that you would also advise companies with regard to how to implement those systems and how to get the company or those people aboard for those changes?
Yeah, definitely. So one, Stella, which is very important, is training and development. So I would recommend offering courses on AI literacy and also digital skills to help employees adapt to the new technology, but also promoting a culture of continuous learning through AI-powered learning management systems that recommend relevant courses and training. And another factor is change management. Here, companies should be able to explain the benefits and purposes of AI integration to alleviate fears and misconceptions, and also involve employees in the deployment of AI tools through pilot programs and feedback loops to ensure their concerns are addressed. In particular, the pilot programs, we have seen a lot of success of companies using them, because the trick is the pilot program is so small that it can't go wrong. So every employee taking part in the pilot will have some kind of success, and this is what they are going to share with their colleagues.
Okay, so if I would summarize it, so one pillar would be education, so that with trainings and with additional information about the topic, that educating people helps to create understanding for the topic itself. And the other aspect is tryability, so that people can really try it out and see how it works, because that also strengthens the understanding about, okay, how would those systems actually work if we would roll it out on a larger basis. And when we think about change management in general, one, especially in Germany, one particular group that's of course always interested if you implement new technology, especially I guess AI systems for the workforce, are workers' council. And now with regards to AI, do you have something that you could advise vendors or companies who are offering AI systems about and want to introduce it into organizations, what they should especially take care of, or what is always coming up in those discussions with worker councils?
Yeah, so as you said, the works councils are not only very interested in understanding how AI works, but also they have a co-determination right in Germany, which means they can request from the employer to negotiate a works agreement. And this works agreement details in particular the extent of performance and behavior monitoring. And this is why the Works Council has co-determination rights. So every AI and IT system that allows the employer to monitor the performance or the behavior of the employees falls under this category. And for example, behavior monitoring is already the case if the employer can track which employee used the AI system at what point in time. So this is pretty normal that most of the AI systems will fall under this category. And then the Works Councils, they are very keen on understanding the logic of the AI system or the algorithm, because they obviously want to make sure that the system is not biased, for example, it should be deciding in a fairly manner. And also they would like to understand whether it makes sense how the AI system comes to a decision. And here we sometimes have the challenge that in particular the bigger market players refuse to share any specific information about this, and this makes it very, very difficult in the negotiations to convince the works councils to agree to the system, because they then usually argue, we don't understand it, how can we agree to it? We need to protect the workforce, we need to represent the employees, and we cannot accept something which we don't understand. So this is definitely a challenge we see.
Okay, that's very interesting. So that would also give smaller companies, I guess, an edge if they have the control over their own algorithms, and then if they're capable of, or they should show transparency in their logic and demonstrate how the AI came to the decision. So if I, for example, would say something like, hello, nice to meet you, and the goal would be to say, in a training, you should greet someone friendly, and the AI says, yes, greet it friendly, and show that it has recognized that you said something nice. So this would already be sufficient, or like would at least guarantee some transparency to understand, okay, from the input to the output, what was maybe the score that resulted out of that, and how did the AI make the decision?
Exactly, yeah. So what are the factors that were taken into consideration to make the score, basically?
Okay, yeah, this is very interesting. I think maybe also for listeners or smaller companies in general, especially in Europe, right, where the whole idea of the EU AI Act is to strengthen the ecosystem in Europe, to say what could you actually do to give an edge, or to get an edge, not just from the algorithm capabilities, but also in terms when it comes to transparency and logic on how the algorithm functions. Okay, so we're already coming almost to an end. Maybe to sum it up, what we have now talked about today is about first, what does the EU AI Act mean in general for companies, and we also talked about how to implement them and how to get people aboard and educate them. For example, when you want to implement those systems, how to get other stakeholder groups aboard, like worker councils, for example. And at the very end, maybe Inka, if we think about what are common things that maybe people that you want to tell them on their way that are kind of misconceptions when it comes to this whole EU AI Act, especially with regard to looking at HR topics, it would be, I guess, a nice ending to get some insights or some common things that people might perceive or might have understood wrong if they look at the act.
Sure. So I think the biggest misconception is probably that all AI systems in HR fall under the high risk category, which is definitely not the case. And I think I have said it before, the reason why certain AI systems in HR fall under this category is because they impose high risk for the individual's rights. And just think about using AI in the recruiting process or for promotions or dismissals. Obviously, those decisions impact the individual's lives very much, because it affects their financial income and financial stability. And this is why the EU here made the statement to include some of the HI systems in the high risk category. And these are only those who basically make final decisions and have this kind of impact. And this leaves enough room for a lot of other AI systems in HR that can be used for smaller decisions, preparing tasks, or supporting these decisions, which then can be used without the high requirements for high-risk systems.
Okay. So thank you very much. I would also take from this conception, or like this clarification, that is especially also relevant, what's the purpose of the system? So not just the AI itself, the technology, but also how it's embedded in a larger scope and where it's going to be used. So first of all, thank you, Inka, for being with us today and spending your valuable time with us. I hope for the audience that is something you can take it home and implement into your organization. That is very helpful for us. So at least for me, it was very helpful today. So thank you again, Inka. And thank you for the audience. I hope you enjoyed the sessions. I would like to remind you to go to our webpage and subscribe to our Tech and Talks community. And stay tuned for the next webinars that are coming up. And with that, I would say thank you again, and until next time.